Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's 7:45 a.m., February 21st, and prices of BTC currently at 97.58. All right, so let's get to the analysis, folks. I'm going to start with a clean chart here, and I want to lay down a couple of interesting areas that I've been watching in my community, and I got to scalp these areas pretty nicely. For the most part, a larger majority of my trades have not really been in due to the fact that the market is just really choppy, and I don't have higher confidence trades showing me in terms of technicals which direction the market is potentially going to head off into. So this is why I scalp here and there. As you can see, we've been doing decent on scalps so far. Okay, so let's get to it. All right, so where exactly do we scalp? Okay, so I have to dial down to the 5-minute time frame for something like this. Okay, and I wanted to show you guys that when we had this significant drop, right? Typically, the way I like to draw ranges is whether it's on a 5-minute or 15-minute. I like to see the first green candle after a sizable drop like that, okay? So the first green candle that we see is this one right here, right? So what I do is I mark out the levels, okay? I say that's the high and that's the low, okay? Now, because this market is largely controlled by algos, I would say, and a lot of, say market makers and a whole bunch of bots, more often than not, okay, they're just going out and hunting for liquidity, okay? So in this particular case, right, notice that the low of this green candle was right here around 93.96, okay? So when the market was, excuse me, when the market was ranging, right, ranging like this and like this, I always tell people that watch this market in this range destroy both sides and then settle back in the middle somewhere again, okay? And that's essentially what's happened so far. Is notice this low right here, okay? We went like this, had a push up, and then boom, took out this low right here, okay? And then what happened, okay? And then we went off up here, and just maybe about 30 minutes ago, boom, we took out this high right there, okay? So what do I think is going to happen next? Chances are much higher that the market is going to come back inside this range again. Now, if it holds above this area, okay, then it will push off higher. Then we can start talking about targets higher. But for the most part, I know for a fact that this market has not really resolved itself, after such a sizable drop. So more than likely, the market is going to go out hunting for liquidity, okay, and then settle back, and then maybe it'll probably decide its real move, okay? So you could see over here right now, the price is kind of trying to stay above this area, but not really. It's really just struggling for the most part, so if it struggles over here, I anticipate price to come back somewhere in the middle, which is the EQ of this range. Probably going to be around 95.75, 95.50, okay? And if we start throwing on the 15-minute time frame, right, I think we have a pivot right around that area. Let's see. All right, you can see the pivot right there on the 95.50, right? So the point is that we're above the R1, but if we fail and collapse under the R1, I'd probably look for this pivot area for price to touch, okay? But for now, price looks decent. It looks like it's holding above this range high around 95 or 97.57, okay? I'm not expecting any large movements to the upside, at least today, in my opinion. Maybe like the start of next week, which would be Sunday evening. So that gives, the new fresh weekly candle. I don't know, after this drop like this, I really don't like going in with heavier trades, to be honest, because the market is really just trying to weed out participants, on both sides. So it's largely best to stay out of the market unless you start seeing technicals start to shift and start giving you confirmation that, you know, market is moving one side to another. Now you could make the argument that, okay, well, hey, you know, it looks like the market on the 1 hour right here put in a low, a higher low, and another higher low right there, right? So that's, I mean, yes, very positive sign in my opinion right there. But after a sizable drop, right, from this key high to this low, I do expect some kind of, you know, reversion to the mean, right? Meaning that price needs to come back somewhere to the middle area where it can, you know, find that strength isn't just overly bearish, right? Is more often than not, price will try to gravitate back towards the 382 fib, maybe the 50 fib, and then reverse down if the bears are still under control. Okay, because the thing is, you know, if you're a bear and you're trying to sell this market or you're trying to short this market, right? You probably short here, you know, maybe take some profit down here, let the market, you know, come back up, short again, and then dump it again, right? Why would you want, you know, for the market to go like this, kind of like that, and just straight down when you can profit here, come back up, and then sell off some more, okay? This kind of lays down when the price does something like this, comes back around, pushes back up, it can lay down some bull traps, right? So you could see the market kind of going like this up, and you think that people are, market is going to go back up even higher, but then boom, it comes back down again. Okay, so that'd be your typical bull trap. Okay, now let me see here. There's another way we can lay out some fibs, so that high to this low. Okay, so guess where we just hit, you know, just a few minutes ago, right? Actually, let me get it down perfectly right there. Okay, so we pretty much hit that 50 fib. Okay, I like to, if I'm going to short, I like to target that golden pocket area, 618, 65%. And if it shows, you know, this kind of weakness like this, I'll short here, put a stop above here, and then ride this thing down, okay? But until then, you know, the market is kind of just chopping around. Don't get, you know, caught up in the chop. In large part, I mean, I'm not taking any heavy trades. Like I said, I'd probably be looking out for a couple different levels. Number one, if we go back to my 30-minute chart, the one level that I have my eye on is this area right here, about 98.25 to 98.40, okay? The reason this marker is important is because this was kind of the key support area right there, and that became resistance, 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 and then it broke through, and it didn't even, you know, over here, this area, when it dropped through, it didn't even test that support. Kind of just sliced all the way through. So I would probably say there's probably a, you know, good amount of pressure sitting in this area, whether it's bullish or bearish. And if price smashes back up into this area, does something like this again, you know, I'd short there, stop above there, and then ride this thing down to that pivot I told you guys about around 95.50. Okay. If I'm looking to long this thing anywhere, like I said, I would want, you know, go back to that 5-minute time frame again, right? I would want this key area right here to hold, okay? I want price to show me that, hey, I've cleared this high right here, around 97.57. I can now get back above this and stay. So then I would target a long from 97.57 to that high right here, around 98.25 or so, okay? That would just be my first target. If price keeps showing strength, I'd probably start targeting 99.30 or so, and that's because that's the weekly open, okay? But until then, I don't know. I really think the market is very iffy. I don't see any signs that are telling me that this is a good long or a short. So it's best to, you know, just stay out, wait for the market to do its thing, and then hop in, okay? Now, as for the daily, as I've told y'all before many times, I still do believe that this is a pretty good area to bottom, okay? Just because it's a good area to bottom doesn't mean it should and it will, right? It all comes down to confirmations, okay? When we saw this candle right here, okay, I didn't get into a trade in this area I don't know, maybe until like 98.50 or 9900 or something, and then sold up here around 10,300. Okay, so I missed the first couple $100 that I could have bought, but at least I had confirmation that the price was going up in this green candle, right? Right now, I don't have any confirmation, especially from the, if we start dialing back to the 4 hour, things get interesting on the 4 hour. All right, so let's do this, okay? So we're under a major pivot on the 4 hour, okay? If we start turning on, let me see here. Where's the Bollinger Bands? Okay, there it is. If we start turning on the Bollinger Bands, right, and then we start laying down a trend line, okay, I'm gonna draw this trend line right here because I personally think it's important. This, to me, as per trend lines, is a deviation. We came back inside. So this trend line right here is far more important to me, okay? Now, if we look at this trend line from this touch, notice that we're fairly close to coming, and hitting that trend line right there, as well as this yellow line right here, which is the middle Bollinger Band, okay? And those two markers are right around, 9,800. The middle Bollinger Band is around 9,830. And that makes sense because of what I just showed you earlier. Remember, this marker right here, around 9,830, 9,840, right? So if we get back up towards that area, okay, I would probably say price will struggle for many reasons. Because number one, we have a trend line resistance. Number two, we have the middle of the Bollinger Band. And more often than not, the middle is either the support or resistance depending on which side you're coming from. Okay, so if you're coming from the underside like this, more than likely the middle of the Bollinger Band, like right there, it's gonna try to hold you as resistance, okay? So those are really my thoughts right now. I don't see any confirmation, but like I said, there's levels you can actually play, hold above 97.57 and you can long to 98.25. Struggle around 98.25 or so, and you can short down to 97.57 or even all the way down to 95.50. Okay, that's how I'm going to be playing this market for now until it starts showing me that it's ready to move back up. Okay. Until then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let me see here. Let's see how the Stoch RSI and the RSI is doing. Stoch RSI in the 4 hours starting to move back up and out. So that's a positive sign. RSI has a good amount of room to go too on the 4 hour. Let's see how the daily goes. Okay. Daily is, I guess the Stoch on the daily has actually flipped bearish and is, trying to look for more downside. But obviously, it's a bit lagging right now because prices obviously moved up a little bit. Oh, and here's another thing, right? The middle Bollinger Band on the daily chart is right there as well, 98.48. So you can see there's a lot of confluence around that $9,800 area. Now, if price significantly moves back up and you're bullish, right, you could, I guess, target, this pivot right here. And that's around 10,050 or so, okay? If you really think that price is going to aggressively move back up. But it's really going to struggle right here. And if I were long, I would definitely take a significant amount of profit right there, okay? But anyway, I typically let my Advantage community members know exactly what I'm doing. Like I've said, if you guys want to join and you want this kind of analysis twice a day, plus updates like we put out, at least, more than a few times a day, as you can see, right? Come join Cryptosomniac community, folks, okay? I think that's it, okay? Take care, cheers, and have a good rest of the day. Enjoy your Friday.